Did you hear the crash? I'm not talking about the stock market, which has been underperforming in the last few months. I'm not talking about the Colorado Fighting Deons and their 70% crash in the ratings. I'm not even talking about the multiple crashes happening right now in the WNBA dump, where unknown dump divers are clashing with fans of Caitlin Clark, and the fact that ratings in games not involving Caitlin Clark are crashing so hard that there are no flies surrounding the fresh turds. The crash I am referring to, it is the crash coming out of the promised land, the land of the non-binary mouse. It's the land of the identifiers, the safe space where Miranda can identify as a panda and secure her spot in the zoo. It is the land of rainbows and cucumbers, the land where they teach kindergartners the correct way to recite the alphabet. LGBTQIA @ at face now Uncle Ray. The loud crash that you have been hearing, it is coming directly from the land of Disney, where executives are in a full-blown panic because the disastrous debate performance last week, it has blown up in Mickey's face. Who would have thought biased actions have consequences? Who would have thought a 3-on-1 debate setup would piss people off? I can tell you with 100% certainty that ABC didn't think that. ABC didn't think their actions would have consequences. The previously unknown male birthing person who made up one half of the doofus duo that moderated this debate, he was under the impression that the performance they provided viewers last week was acceptable. He was under the impression that a 3-on-1 handicap match, a debate with minimal substance, that was exactly what viewers wanted to see. But unfortunately for David Muir, who cares? It doesn't matter what his name is. Unfortunately for David Doofus, the impression that he was under, it was the wrong impression. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel in the description below. I'll be on the second channel later on tonight talking about one of our favorites here on the channel, Chris Cuomo. Hey, it's me, Chrissy C! Let's go ahead and get to the sponsor for today's video, my good friends at Foursquares Apparel. I don't know if you guys remember this, but a couple of years ago, Father Jalen Rose, former lead pastor at Woke United Methodist, in one of his final sermons before he was fired, Father Jalen, he added an addendum to the Woke Commandments, where he banned use of the term Mount Rushmore. Since loyal parishioners are no longer allowed to use the term Mount Rushmore, we have decided to honor these legendary presidents by wearing them on our feet. My friends at Foursquares Apparel, they took this ban seriously, and they came up with colorful socks to honor the presidents on Mount Rushmore. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abe Lincoln, Theodore Roosevelt, known to friends and family as Teddy and not to be confused with his distant cousin Frankie. Socks from Foursquares Apparel, they are offered in several sizes and colors, and they are perfect for guys like me who like to go golfing. So click the link in the description below. Use my promo code BTL10, BTL10. Receive 10% off your first purchase with Foursquares Apparel. Earlier this week, David Doofus was the guest on Live with Regis and Kathy Lee. Well, KC, don't you mean Live with Mark and Kelly? No. If you grew up in the 90s, then you know this show will always be called Live with Regis and Kathy Lee. But this appearance on syndicated television, it was a big deal for David Muir. For the first time since the debate, he was able to give his thoughts and speak on a platform that people were actually watching. As you guys know, ABC has been heavily criticized since that debate. They were criticized for fact-checking the Trumper while allowing the leader of the cackling choir to lie without consequence. They were criticized for their line of questioning with Cam Harris. Cam, who is the designer of that masculine suit that you're wearing? Oh, this suit reminds me of my middle-class upbringing. I grew up middle class, you know. ABC was criticized for their failed attempt to make the queen of incompetence appear competent, while also trying to make the Trumper seem like the father of lies. But according to David Muir, these criticisms are invalid. Matter of fact, Moo insinuates that the criticism that ABC is receiving, that criticism should be given to the candidates who refuse to answer basic questions. And when David Muir insinuates that the candidates should be the ones criticized, what he really means is Orange Man bad. Watch for yourself.
I believe it was our duty to ask the issues that Americans care about. I always say as a moderator, what the candidates decide to do with that time, you can ask the questions, but they'll answer with whatever they choose to answer with.
That's right.
And you have to be ready for whatever might come your way, even the most unexpected of moments. As you all know, you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And I will say this. All of the noise that you hear afterward about, which candidate won the debate, did the moderators win or lose, that's just noise.
First of all, David Muir is full of shit. Yes, it is the moderator's job to ask questions, that's obvious. But it's also your job to push the candidates to answer those questions. One of the reasons this debate was so disastrous, neither Cam or the Trumper would directly answer questions. One of the moderators, they would ask about the economy and Trump would start ranting about the southern border for the third time. Now, to his credit, though, at least Donald Trump was talking about issues that people actually care about. At one point, ABC asked cackling Cam Harris if people were better off today than they were 4 years ago. Now, I don't remember her exact answer, but I know for damn sure she didn't answer the question. If I had to guess, Cam's answer probably went something like this. Oh, I grew up in a middle-class family. I can relate to your struggles because I caused them. And if you vote for me, I give you this promise. I promise that 4 years from now, you will be begging for $10 a gallon gas because when I'm elected president, the only gas that will be available will be coming out of the ass. For decades, ABC World News Tonight, it has been the flagship program on the network. Now, when I was coming of age, the show was hosted by the legendary Peter Jennings. You had Tom Brokaw on NBC, Dan Rather on CBS, and Peter Jennings on ABC. Now, whether you agreed with them politically or not, these are legends in broadcasting. Since 2014, David Muir, he has been the host of World News Tonight. ABC presents the show along with their entire news division as being unbiased. Now, I know that's hard to believe, especially considering the fact that ABC owns the worldwide leader in woke ESPN, a network that is clearly biased against anyone who thinks men can't have babies. But when it comes to marketing ABC News, they want the general public to believe that they are receiving unbiased news coverage. To their credit, that propaganda has worked. For years, David Muir has hosted the #1 show in primetime news. World News Tonight typically averages between 7.5 and 8 million viewers. Earlier this year, David Muir was averaging almost 9 million viewers. Since the debate last Tuesday night, that number has fallen all the way down to a cool 6.7 million. Normally, when a network hosts a presidential debate, their primetime lineup sees an increase in viewership. How in the hell can ABC host a debate and their flagship program sees a ratings decline of 12%? That makes sense, right? Maybe, just maybe, the million or so people that quit watching the program realized they were being lied to. Maybe they realized that David Muir was a propagandist. When you're in the business of news or entertainment, the relationship you have with your audience, it's similar to the relationships you have in your personal life. What is one of the keys to a successful relationship, successful marriage? Trust and credibility. If your wife asks you to cut the grass, and 3 weeks later the grass is taller than the prepubescent boy wearing a dress next door, you lose credibility with your wife. She can't rely on you to do something just because you said you were going to do it. If you do something heinous like cheat on her, more than likely the relationship is damaged beyond repair. Once trust and credibility is lost in a relationship, damn near impossible to get it back. Last Tuesday night, David Muir, he lost trust and credibility with his audience. Instead of moderating the debate fairly, he allowed his co-host, who also happens to be friends with Cam Harris, to turn the debate into a shit show. Lindsay Davis, she had nothing to lose here. She doesn't have a primetime show on ABC. She's a substitute on Good Morning America. When Robin Roberts is busy doing something that actually matters, they call Lindsay Davis to come into the studio to breathe so she can keep the potted ficus alive. No one cares about the credibility of Lindsay Davis because no one knows who in the hell she is. Hell, I didn't know who David Muir was either. That shows you how much I watch network news. I was actually surprised when I found out that he hosts the flagship show on ABC. But the point is, David Muir, he had everything to lose here. You've got the #1 show. You have been #1 in the ratings for years. You present yourself as an unbiased journalist, and you come out on the biggest platform that you've probably ever been on, and you show your clear bias. We have seen how this movie ends. We already have an example of what happens when a network presents themselves as unbiased and shows their clear bias. Does anyone remember CNN, or as they are now called, the Cemetery News Network? For decades, CNN was either #1 or a major player in cable news. 2015 or 2016, they decided to shift directions. Instead of reporting the news, CNN, they began providing viewers with 24-hour biased coverage of Donald Trump. What was the end result? Well, CNN is now competing with Newsmax instead of competing with Fox News. That debate was disastrous for David Muir. A 12% ratings decline in the span of a couple of days, that is a massive decline. Question is, can he recover? Can he rebuild his credibility? You tell me, is ABC in danger of losing their #1 spot in the ratings? Now, me personally, I don't know how any of the broadcast networks have an audience when it comes to news coverage. I think all 3 networks are trash. But did the debate permanently damage the credibility of David Muir? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share the video. Appreciate your support. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.